Today we will be adding and subtracting polynomials. This is TEKS from Algebra 2.7b. In order to add or subtract polynomials, you're going to combine like terms. Well, what are like terms? Like terms means that you can combine x squareds with other x squareds, you can combine x's with other x's, and constants with other constants. So we take a look at this first problem. We have two polynomials. This is the first polynomial, and we are going to add it to the second polynomial. Well, when you add polynomials, the parentheses, we can actually drop the parentheses. Okay, so now we have 2x squared minus 4x minus 1 plus 1x squared plus 5x minus 2. When we combine them, our exponents do not change. When we combine like terms, only the coefficients change. So in this case, I'm going to personally, I like to do either shapes. Okay, so I'm going to do 2x squared plus 1x squared. When I combine them, I'm only looking at the number in front. So 2 plus 1 gives me, I have 3x squared. If you prefer crossing them off after you use them, that is a good way to also show that you've already used that term. Next, I'm going to combine negative 4x plus 5x. So negative 4 plus 5 is just positive 1x. And last but not least, we have our constants. Our constants are numbers that don't have any variables attached. So I have negative 1 minus 2. So negative 1 minus 2 gives me negative 3. And this is your final answer of combined polynomials. So let's try it again, but this time, if you notice here, we are subtracting polynomials. So if we are going to subtract them, then this is like distributing a negative 1 into the parentheses. So this negative 1 needs to be multiplied here, here, and here. So bring down your first polynomial and no signs change. But now when we distribute that negative, that becomes a negative 2x squared. That becomes a positive x, and that becomes a negative 2. Notice that distributing the negative means that every sign inside the parentheses changed. And now, just like the first parentheses, we are going to combine like terms. So I have 3x squared, and I can only combine x squared with other x squareds. So 3x squared minus 2x squared is 1x squared. Do you need the 1? No, you do not. Next, I have 2x plus 1x. That gives me 3x. And last, I have my constants. I have negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. And that's my final answer. Now I have 3 polynomials that I want to combine. So what I have to do is in front of every polynomial, in front of every parentheses, I have to look at what the sign is. If it has a positive, I can drop the parentheses without changing anything. But because I have a negative here, I must distribute this negative into the parentheses. So bring down your first polynomial. Now for the second one, I have to distribute the negative 2x squared. And right here, make sure that this negative x becomes a plus x since you distributed the negative. Now, with adding polynomials, also you want to start with the highest exponent and work to the lowest exponent. In this case, my highest exponent is 3, and it does happen to be in front. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the x cubes. And always pay attention to the sign in front. Okay, so I have 4x cubes, and I'm adding another 4x cubes. So I have 8x cubes. Next, I want to look for x squared. So x squared, I have a negative 2x squared, and I don't see any other x squared, so that's going to be my x squareds. Next, I'm going to look for x's. Okay, so for x's, I have a plus 1x, plus 1x, plus 5x. 1 plus 1 plus 5 is 7x. And last but not least, I have my constants. So I have a negative 2 minus 4. Negative 2 minus 4 is going to be a negative 6. So some of the questions students will ask was, how do you know if it's a negative or a minus? It's both at the same time. I have a -2 and I have a -4, and I'm going to do -2 plus -4. Or I can do -2 minus 4. You must use a negative sign if it's in front. Like if you're using your calculator, this would have to be a negative, and then this would be a minus unless you put a plus sign in between. Okay, so that is your final answer. And our last question of the day. So we're going to combine these three polynomials together. You must look in front of your parentheses at what these signs are. In this case, I have two negative signs. So I'm going to distribute the negatives into this parentheses and this negative into this parentheses. So the first one you can bring down without changing any signs since there's nothing in front of the parentheses. Okay. Then -4x squared, and make sure to distribute it. The biggest mistake is people only distributing it to the first term and forgetting to distribute it to everything else in the parentheses. Start with your highest exponent, 5x to the 4th. Okay, I don't have any other x to the 4th. Next, I'm going to go to x cubed. I have 2x cubed minus 2x cubes. 2 minus 2, I actually don't have any x cubes left. I'm not even going to put 0x cubed, it's not there anymore. So next I'm going to go to my x squareds, and I have a -4x squared, and I don't see anything else. Let me bring that down. After x squared, I have to look for my x's. This is a 1x minus 6x. This is a minus 5x. And last but not least, I have a -2 minus 3. So -2 minus 3 is -5. -5 plus 7 is a +2. And this becomes your final answer. So remember that when you are adding or subtracting polynomials, always look at the sign in front of the parentheses. If it's a negative, make sure you distribute the negative. And if it's a positive, you can just drop the parentheses. And then when you combine like terms, the only thing changing is the coefficient in front. Your variable and exponent do not change when you're adding or subtracting.